You know, I did a video where I had the words be read out loud on Microsoft Word of the essay topic that I posted on DeviantArt, as well as like I said, I did two separate videos on here, me reading it, and then before that the Microsoft Word bot reading it, of if I was in, basically, kind of talking about how if I was in the shoes of the people I mentioned there, and how I would do things when it came to the characters of the creations. And one of them, of course, I talked about was Mr. Internet Man and his Mystic Makeover series. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that Mr. Internet Man, his Mystic Makeover series, it's one of those series that when you really look at it, and I think I've mentioned this before here, but when you really look at it, could be adapted into a great, animated or even live action series, mostly animated, adult animation that is, series. And not just because the creativity and all that the artist can come up with for the Demonica character when it comes to her powers and what she's capable of doing, as well as her friends like Exotica, who also has the same powers. And if you want to incorporate a character or similar, or if not identical to the Ruby Walker character, that's fine too. But I look at this kind of a story and I'm like, you know what, this is the kind of story that not only would be a great adaptation for adult animation as a series, but also in a sense maybe a movie, but more than likely a series, and if not, maybe a full-fledged graphic novel by an independent comic book publisher or something like that. Because what I look at here is the dynamics of a character like Veronica, who has these powers now, Veronica and Rebecca, who have these powers, and just the fact that they only let a select few know about it. They only let a select few know about these powers that they have. And my thought process on that is, well, if they only let a select few know, what if some of those select few who are their friends probably let them know that, hey, maybe you need to be careful? Because I could see something like that there. I could see something like that occurring to where, let's say it's adapted either way, and the people behind it, decide with the consultation of Mr. Internet Man, helping them out. Let's say they come up with a scenario to where, they get these powers. Veronica and Rebecca, they both get these powers, and they turn into the mischievous demon elves, succubus, if you will, known as Demonica and Exotica. What if down the line, you have friends that find out about these powers and they're like, they're excited for they're like excited for Veronica, they're excited for Rebecca having the ability to be what they want, be whatever they want, whoever they want, get that ultimate relaxation of just becoming a puddle of goo, when they just want to ultimately relax after a long day. You could have friends that are excited for them and all that when it comes to these powers. But also in the long run, with any kind of story like this, you can also have concern. Like maybe when Veronica and Rebecca together or individually, tell them about what they become, like who they become, or how they fuse and stuff like that. There's again, there's a story there to where you could have a friend, a close friend, be like, well, that's great and everything, and I'm happy you're able to do all this, but aren't you concerned you might lose yourself? And there's the story right there. Basically, the friends, if not the family members, if you want to incorporate family that knows about the secrets, being concerned about their well-being, like them potentially losing themselves to whatever they become, whatever animal or fictional beast or inanimate object they become, or even most importantly, whatever other individual they become. there is a story there that could be told of concern of, aren't you afraid you might lose yourself? And to really emphasize, how, serious that is in their eyes. You could have the close friends that know about the secret, or even the families that know about the secrets, ask them straight point blank, I should say, was there any time, that they came close to losing themselves when they would become somebody else? And perhaps you could have them mention the whole situation with Angela, when they became the Angela fusion, or when they did this, or when they did that. You can have them acknowledge that, say, well, there's been a few times, but we've always been able to get, basically crawl ourselves back, or basically be able to take control back. Again, the story to me is there of, of a family and friends being, concerned. Like, if they hear that, they're like, well, I mean, I could see a scenario to where if something like that was to play out in a graphic novel, comic, or a series, to where the family and the friends could be like, well, if that's the case, maybe you need to settle it down. Maybe you need to not use this power that much anymore, and try to, go back to living a normal life, and then only use this power on occasions. So, so that, you don't end up losing yourself. You don't end up causing some trouble that, will, get the police on you, or even get the government on you, and things like that. And to me, that would make a lot of sense from a story perspective. I mean, it's great when Mr. Internet Man, does all these little 6 to 12 to 40 page, if you will, or 35 page web comics, with his character along with other characters, or his character on her own. It's always great to see that. It's always great to enjoy, to look and look at that visually and enjoy it. But it's just, again, one of those situations to where it's like, well, if you, to where, like, you have this premise right in front of you that would work perfectly, in my opinion, for, a story series as a graphic novel, comic, or as an animated adaptation, adult animation adaptation, that is. And what's funny? What's funny is I think people would enjoy it. People would get a kick out of it. They would watch it. They would enjoy it. And, the rest would be history. Because right now, when you really think about it, we are in an age where one of the planned DC properties that are in the works for visual representation on the big screen, or the HD screen, if you will, or the 4K screen, one of the DC projects is a gender bend version of Plastic Man. In this case, it's Plastic Woman. Or at least the main lead's going to be female, but from all intents and purposes, from what we're hearing, you have it being described as the female lead having these powers. And if we're in a situation to where this kind of stuff, gets over with the people nowadays, and and gets their intriguement, flowing, then I think if something like Mystic Makeover was adapted for a graphic novel comic release by an independent publisher, or adapted for an adult animated series, whether it was on HBO Max, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Tubin, Paramount Plus, any of them out there, I think it would be a huge success. Even if you wanted to put it on Animation Domination on Fox, it would be a huge success. Because just the fact that, the selling point of this girl having these girls having these powers that allow them to become these mischievous demon elf succubus, if you will, that have the ability to become anything they want, or anyone they want, even, like I say, liquefy down into a puddle of goo to relax. And, you add that along with the potential idea that you could have family and friends that know about it be concerned maybe in the future of not only having to learn how to deal with this situation, but also be worried that perhaps their friends, their daughters, if you will, sisters, if you will, could end up losing themselves to whatever other identity they take on. Because imagine the scenario where they ask Demonica or Veronica all these questions of what she's become lately, what she's become, who she's become, and she blurts out the fact that when she becomes Demonica, she splits herself in two at times. It becomes two separate, and then turns herself into two separate women, that make out with themselves, that basically get it on LGBTQ hardcore sex wise. No offense when I say that. No offense, Lord forgive me for saying that. No offense, or all due respect, no offense. Imagine the story premise and the story elements, that can come from there, to where the reaction from the family, from the friends, like the parents being like, wait a minute, so you become these two ladies, and in the end you end up making out with yourself, essentially. You may end up having sex with yourself as these two separate ladies. And you could have Veronica be like, well, technically, yeah, but as Demonica, I give them their own individual personalities, and we go, and it just goes from there. And all that I just mentioned, combined with the premise as a selling point of these girls being able to become whatever they want to be, whatever person, animal, inanimate object, puddle of goo, whatever they want, as a selling point, I think could make this, depending on its adaptation, on how it's adapted, a huge success. I think it could become a huge success. And I think someone like Mr. Internet Man has thought about this. I think he's honestly thought about this numerous times. The only thing is, just like with any creator of, any original creator of certain OCs, like a Demonica Veronica and a Rebecca Exotica, if he was to take that chance, he'd want to make sure that his characters were given the proper respect they deserve, basically represented as he envisions them to be represented, and not changed whatsoever. But yeah, honestly, when you look at the premise, basically just based on what he's uploaded on his DeviantArt page and what others have adapted for other projects, like the Demonica story series by Minor Dash Alterations, and what RE0901 has been able to do, and others, it really makes you believe that this is a great property with a great premise that could really shine if given that opportunity, based off the fact that from a story aspect, you could have the fun and all that you want to have with these characters. Heck, even after the story, you could do these. Heck, I look at the fact that after the stories, you could do maybe 2-minute, 3-minute little shorts at the end, where you just have Demonica or Exotica shape-shifting into whatever comes to mind. Kind of paying homage to some of the original first story comics that Mr. Internet Man did. But in my opinion, though, I honestly think, it would work. Even if it's a limited series, graphic novel wise and even animation wise, I think it would work. And people, like I said, just based on the premise, and everything, I think would really, they would really be attracted to it. They would really be intrigued by it, and they'd want to see what, it's about. So, in my opinion, when you look at something like the Mystic Makeover series, I know it's not as big as, let's say, Sabrina Dash Online, but I think, honestly, if just done as a limited animated series or as a limited graphic novel series, I think it could be a huge success. Just, again, based off what's presented in there, what it's about, the storyline element itself, I think it could be a huge success. But what do you guys think? What are your thoughts on the fact that something like Mystic Makeover could, probably be adapted into something like that? Do you think it could succeed? Do you think it would fail? What are your thoughts overall? Comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are in the in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are on the live chat during the premiere. Like the video, and I will talk to you later. I'm going to go get me some dinner now, and I'm out.